Hello, and welcome to episode number 5, How to Have a Better Relationship with Yourself. So, the most important relationship that you will ever have in your entire life is the relationship that you have with yourself. And it's often the one that we give the least amount of attention to. And the fact is, it is often the one that creates the most amount of distress without us even really realizing it. And when we have a poor relationship with ourselves, when we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, when we have even just an unconscious relationship with ourselves, what tends to happen is that we start having a lot of problems go on. So, where a poor relationship with yourself shows up is in your relationships with other people. So, it shows up in your romantic relationship, it shows up in your relationship with your friends. It shows up with your in your relationship with your extended family. It shows up in your relationship with your, coworkers. It shows up everywhere. It also shows up in the way that you are able to tap into hope and possibility. Your relationship with yourself plays a huge role in that. Your relationship with yourself is actually the thing that matters the most. And if you've never really thought about your relationship with yourself, that's because it's not something that we really talk about. And it really is something that I personally believe should be taught at school, but it isn't. And in fact, even as adults, middle age, senior citizens, all of us, many of us have never taken the time to consider what is my relationship with myself and what is the relationship that I want to have with myself? And then how do I go about creating that? Instead, what we tend to do is we tend to look at the results that are being created in our life and really look at them from the standpoint of what's wrong with me, what's wrong with them, and why can't I have what I want to have? Okay. So, why can't I lose the weight? Why can't I make the money that I want to make? Why can't I have the relationship with my partner that I want to have, et cetera, et cetera? And it's interesting, right? That we look at it through this lens. It's very human to look at it that way. The truth is that I have yet to be on a discovery call or a coaching session with a client where this hasn't come up. This idea that the results that are being created in our life, the only reason that they're happening is because either there's something deficient with us or there's something deficient with the other people. But that's just not even how we want to think about this, because when we do, we just really put our brain to work on solving something in a way that isn't going to serve us. Okay. I actually did an Instagram post today. So if you go over to Fuck Your Disorder on Instagram, you'll see it, where I talk about how when we're constantly looking at ourselves as a problem, we really stimulate our reticular activating system. And what that system does is it's actually a filter that our brain uses. So the best example, right, is the type of car you drive. So let's say you go car shopping and you buy yourself, I don't know, a purple Porsche, okay? Maybe that's not a good example. Let's use something a little more common. Let's say like a black Acura. Like, I don't know how many people have purple Porsches. Although if I started thinking about it, we'll see. We'll see what I might find. But let's say you just buy a black Acura and before today you never really noticed how many people drove back black Acuras because your brain really decided that that was completely irrelevant information. So it doesn't actually give it to you as being important. But now that you've bought one, suddenly you notice every single person in the universe, in your community, drives a black Acura. And you start to believe that that could be true, but it really isn't. The only reason that that's happening for you is not because a whole bunch of people just bought them, but because now your brain has decided this is important information. And so it filters it through as, hey, Amanda, look at this. There's more. This is important. You've decided this is important. You bought a car. So now I'm going to make sure you know everything about it. And the reason why I talk about this in this post is because when we decide that something about us is a problem or is wrong with us or is wrong with somebody else, even, what happens is our brain does the exact same thing. So immediately it starts filtering. Oh, you think this is wrong with you? Let me help you find all the evidence of everything that's wrong with you with respect to this. And that is true for everyone. And then what happens is we start having all of this negative thinking that we start having about ourselves and about our situation and about other people. And what does that do? Well, our thoughts create our feelings. So, of course, what it's going to do is create a lot of negative emotion. And then you're going to take a lot of action from all that negative emotion, and you're going to create results in your life that you aren't going to like. Okay. So let's just maybe go with an example. So maybe what you do is you look in the mirror and you're like, I really need to lose 20 pounds. Okay. And I look, I don't look good and I don't feel good. And I think I need to lose this weight to have that. That sounds really logical, right? That sounds like, yeah, that could possibly be something that you believe is true about you. And what I think is so interesting about it is that now you've set in play this important piece of information for your brain, which is you don't look good and you don't feel good. So now your brain's like, oh my gosh, right. Okay, let me find other ways to show you this. Let me pull in all the other evidence that you don't look good. There's this and there's this. And did you notice you had a headache yesterday? And oh my God, those pants don't fit you perfectly. And your underwear is crawling up your butt. And oh, did you see that picture of you? It was so terrible. And did you notice you were out of breath when you went up the stairs? That's a problem. And what I think is really impactful when I am telling you this is that what is the emotion that comes from thinking those things about yourself? And inevitably, it's negative emotion, right? Shame, guilt, frustration, resentment. Those are the emotions that come from thinking these thoughts that we're now having an onslaught of because we've put our brain to work to find what's wrong with us. And then we end up taking actions that don't give us the result that we want. So let's go with the weight example. Like, I need to lose 20 pounds because I don't look good and I don't feel good. And then you have this onslaught of all these things that are wrong with you. How do you feel? Well, you feel shame. You feel disgust. You feel frustration. And when you're feeling those things, are you more or less likely to go out in the world and do things that are healthy, enjoyable, sustainable, things, building blocks that you can build upon to create the result that you want in a really logical human fashion? No, that's not what we do, right? No, we like go on some crazy diet plan where we're eating 800 calories a day and we have to get injections of vitamins because we're not getting enough nutrients, right? We go on Jenny Craig. We decide to join a gym and work out like a maniac, maybe. And we can do that for maybe a few weeks. And then it becomes impossible because it's not sustainable at all. And then we fall off and we feel more shame and more guilt. And we tell ourselves how we're unmotivated and disgusting and the worst. And we feel more and more shame and guilt and more frustration and disappointment and disgust. And the cycle just continues. You just whip around the same tree over and over and over. So I like to look at this and really show you what's really happening so that you can have a better understanding of why I tell you that what you don't need is more accountability. What you need is a better relationship with yourself. So what does that mean? What that means is really looking at, what do I think about myself? What do I believe about myself? What do I tell other people about myself? And how does that make me feel? It's an exercise that you can do. You can put a pen to paper and do it. Here's what I want you to know. It's not going to feel good to do that exercise. So it might be better to do that exercise in a container with me as your coach. Okay. But the reason why we do it is so that we can see all of the things that you think about yourself that are negative, that are mean, that are derailing you, making it impossible for you to show up the way that you want to show up because your relationship with yourself is really damaged. And one way that we can look at it And I really and truly want you to know that putting a pen to paper for this exercise is going to be much more beneficial than just thinking about it. Because what we want to look at is, what are all those things that I'm saying about myself? And then would I say them to another person? And almost always the answer is no. We would never. And why not? Because it's unkind, because it's going to hurt that person, because it's going to make their life worse instead of better. But we have this belief, and it's not your fault, okay? It is both a biological thing by way of the way our brains are inherently negative, how they are continuously judging, how they're always looking for the problem. And it also is a cultural society issue because of how we've been raised to talk about ourselves, look at ourselves, think about ourselves. You've got to achieve more. You've got to do better, reach higher. Like I talked about this on the podcast that I had with Darlin, where we were talking about parenting, where we're raised to believe that if you get a 98% on an exam, where's the other 2%? How come it's not 100? That's how we're taught to think. And it's so damaging. It's so damaging. And it ruins the relationship that you have with you. And when that relationship is in that place, you're never going to be able to show up the way you want to show up long term. You might be able to force yourself into it for a little while. You might be able to take a few steps. Okay. Maybe you can do it for a week. Maybe you can do it for a month. But can you do it for the rest of your life? No, you can't, because what's driving you isn't fulfillment and satisfaction and joy. What's driving you is shame and guilt and frustration. And you've got to ask yourself, what do I want to use as my fuel? What I believe is way more effective is looking at the fuel and deciding what I want it to be. And I have found in my life that one thing that is required that I spoke about on the episode just before this one about fear is courage. And in order to be courageous, there's two paths you can take. Okay. The first path is making yourself do it, being like, stop being such a baby, stop being such a bitch. You can do this. Why are you so ridiculous? Stop it. Just get out of bed. Just go to the fucking gym. Just eat the salad. Like, I just don't have enough discipline, right? That's one way. And you can maybe tap into courage from that place, but I want you to think about what that courage kind of looks like, because it's been my experience that what that courage looks like is, oh my God, I hope I don't die. I'm so scared and I'm so fucked if this doesn't work out, right? And it requires so much effort. It requires so much effort. It's so hard. And then if it doesn't work out the first time, we have nothing left. Nothing left. We have no ability to keep going. Okay. And then we retreat. So that looks differently for everybody. For some people, it's completely turtling. It's not being able to get out of bed. It's not being able to talk on the phone or see our friends or participate with our family. For some people, it's having a complete panic attack at random parts of the day. For some of us, it's freaking out on somebody, right? Because we have reached that tipping point where our nervous system cannot handle it. And I just think that the way that you can change your life in a really sustainable way is to instead build up the relationship that you have with you. And what that looks like is deciding what you want to think about yourself on purpose. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, and I've even said this in the past. So, what you'll notice is if you've listened to this podcast or if you're going back and listening to all the episodes, you might notice an evolution in how I speak about this. Because the longer I coach, the more that I see women, the more that I talk to them, the more that I coach myself, the more I'm able to see what's truly effective and what is really supportive and what actually works. And the thing that works the best is being overly delusional about how awesome you are. In order to do that, we need to look at the thoughts that we think about ourselves first. That's why I tell you to write all that down, right? So you know what it is you're thinking without even your permission. These are just the automatic thoughts that come out because that's what you know up until this point. But now what we're going to do is we're going to decide, what do I want to think on purpose about my body? I'll tell you that I have changed my life by altering the conversation that I have with myself and altering the relationship that I have with my body. So when I look in the mirror, of course, my brain is the same as your brain. Okay. It really wants to look for all the things that are wrong with me. And it can point them out in a heartbeat, like in a millisecond. I don't even have to think, and it's there. But what I say to myself is, oh my God, I look so fucking hot. I look so good. I'm so beautiful. I love my stomach. I love my arms. They're amazing. Now, when you start doing this, it's going to feel stupid. It's going to feel fake. It's not going to feel real. Keep going. Really and truly start telling yourself how great you are. Lean into the energy of it, though. Saying the words is not enough. You have to feel it. Lean into that feeling. Think about the love that you have for somebody, be it a human that's passed away, a pet, whatever. And think about the love that you feel for them and tap into that feeling and put it in the words that you say to yourself. When you do that, you start creating more positive emotion. And you also set your reticular activating system into gear to start looking for the things that are good about you that creates more positive emotion, which is amazing. And it works and it's science. Okay. So circling back to the relationship that you have with yourself, we do tend to, and I've talked about this before, we tend to dissociate our brain from our body, like somehow they're not connected. And the truth is, they're obviously 100% connected and they talk to each other. This isn't a one-way communication either way. So if I decide that I love my body, then I'm going to treat my body really, really good, right? I am going to dress my body in clothing that feels and looks good because I love my body. And then my body, it loves me back when I do that. I am going to give my body the type of exercise that it enjoys. I'm not going to make it do something that's horrible for it. I am going to push it outside of its comfort zone a little. And that's a good thing. As long as my body and I are in sync and I love my body and I care about my body, I can approach hard tasks with my body with a completely different tone, right? It becomes possible to do more if the relationship that we have with ourselves is supportive and loving and kind. Because if I have that relationship with my body and then I'm like, hey, body, guess what? We're going to go and do this spin class. You're going to find it really hard. I'm going to let you rest as much as you need to rest. And I'm not going to make you be perfect the first time we do it. We're going to do it over and over and over. And when it seems really hard and I can tell that you want to give up, I'm going to be like, it's okay. We've got this. And if we need to sit, we can sit, but we're going to keep going. We're not going to stop. Do you see the difference? Do you see how that is a completely different relationship with my body than I have to go to the spin class at 6 a.m. and I'm going to make myself do it. And it's going to be hard as fuck, but I'm going to push myself and I'm going to be like, go, 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 go. Of course I can do this. I need to be better. You can do both. Okay. And the results are going to be very, very different a year from now. And it's just really seeing that for what that is. Because if you have a good relationship with yourself, you're going to be able to inspire yourself to go and do things that you want to do and participate in things that you want to participate in. So if you want to go for that promotion, right? At work, if you have a good relationship with yourself, then you're able to do that because you know you're going to be supportive, because you know that you're going to give it a little push, but it's going to be with love. And you're going to be like, listen, we can definitely do this. It's going to be so hard. I've got you. You might reach out for support and hire a coach, or you might, ask a friend to support you through the practice of it. You might have a mentor at work that's helping you. But it's much different than having the relationship with yourself of, oh, this is all anybody sees of you because this is all you're really capable of. And maybe even it's not that conversation. Maybe it's more like, you're so much more capable of this, but nobody's ever going to see that. Right. Versus, of course, somebody's going to see it because it's so obvious that you're so great. What it is it's deciding the relationship in advance. And if you are experiencing in your life a disconnect where you don't have the life that you actually kind of want to have, then I will promise you that the best place to start is your relationship with yourself. So, really asking yourself, what's my relationship like with my body? What's my relationship like with my face? What's my relationship like with my personality? What's my relationship like with my ability to make money? What's my relationship with my ability to have amazing relationships? Really asking those questions and putting a pen to paper and finding out the answer is going to really show you the relationship that you have with yourself. And then once you have that, what you can do is begin cultivating the relationship that you do want to have with yourself, which has nothing to do with what you're doing. Okay. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters what you think. So really changing the way that you think about yourself on purpose, not like, I guess I'm so, or I hope that they think I'm fine, right? But more so like, I'm the shit. I am so awesome. I'm amazing. Deciding to have that kind of relationship with yourself. Like, who do you want to be for yourself? What is the support system that you want to have for yourself? So often, what I hear people say is that they can't do that. It's not available to them. They don't know how. And just real talk right now, that's not true that you don't know how. Okay. It's that it seems really scary to do that because what if somebody finds out it's not true? What if that's not the truth about you? What if you believe that and then it's shown to you that you're not? That's the rub, right? That's what we're worried about is that it's going to come all around and people are going to be like, actually, no, you're not that. Sorry, not happening. But it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks ever. It matters what you think because really, if you think about what somebody else thinks, the reason why that bothers you is because what you think about them thinking that, which is what creates the emotion that we experience, right? So this is the point. If you even just put the actions to the side right now, okay, and really consider just what is the relationship that I want to have with myself? That is such a beautiful place to start. And I highly recommend you starting there. Start with that. And what you will find is that it will show you what you need to be thinking about yourself to be able to create that. And if you want some support with that, if that is something that feels like it would be amazing, but it seems really hard, then I want you to head on over to my website, okay, www.fuckyourdisorder.com, and book a strategy session with me. And what we'll do on that session is I will help you determine what the beliefs are, what you are thinking about yourself, the relationship you do have, and what's getting in the way of you having the relationship you want. I have a proven process to do that. Okay. It's never not worked. It works for everybody. It always works. So what we'll do is we'll create that for you on that call. And what I will tell you is that if you enter into my coaching program, that is what we're going to do. I am going to help you cultivate the most amazing relationship with you. And then you're going to be able to take that and use that to go out and create the results that you want in your life. And it always works. And it's really and truly not something that I've seen anywhere else, is changing this in this way. So go ahead and book that strategy session. I promise you, it will help you change your life. And that is what I have for you today. So I will see you here next time. Okay. Bye.